What's up, Black Sheep? Welcome to your Sunday sermon. My name is Roshni. I'm the founder of Black Sheep Experience. I'm a self-worth coach, a tarot reader, a channeler, and I have such a strong message coming in today about unworthiness and just feeling into the last bits of unworthiness, but Spirit is asking you for a complete surrender. And I don't know why, but when I was visualizing myself doing this reading, I just kept seeing myself put my hand over my heart and closing my eyes. And so if that feels supportive to you too, you can put your hand over your chest. Just take a few deep breaths in to kind of slow down. Reconnecting with the body here. Remembering with each breath that you are safe. That you are held and that you are supported. Okay, so as I was saying, this message came in super strong when I was on a walk today, and I just wanted to deliver this kind of in the way that it came in and in the way that it made me feel. So I have some cards next to me, but I don't even know if I'll end up pulling them. This message is really, I'm hearing the word hibernation. I also saw the number 207, and I was again hearing about this message of releasing into the unworthiness. And what is so interesting about you is that you have had cycle after cycle after cycle of, pursuing your dreams, pursuing these things that you want to create in the world, pursuing your own healing and becoming the kind of person that you want to be. And I keep hearing the word false starts. It feels like there were so many times where you thought that you were starting this new beginning. You thought that you were starting this new pathway, or finally, I'm seeing a trail, and when it kind of has an offshoot of the trail, but then it loops back into the main trail. It feels like you kept doing that, where you thought that it would be a shortcut to the end or something, or you thought that you had to go this certain way. So instead of following this main path, you kind of went the other way. And because of that, it took longer, but also you almost ended up in the same place. So there's a feeling of, what was I even doing all of this for? And maybe that kind of straight trail is a path to your purpose, but it also feels like the conventional path, which is weird. I'm seeing these kind of two messages at once. And so you went on the other, the roundabout path, because you thought that that was going to be unconventional. You thought that that was going to be different. You thought that that was going to be almost like an answer to what you'd been looking for. And maybe the path was scenic, maybe it was interesting, maybe it just slowed you down, but then you kind of ended up back in that feeling of, well, I'm still on this conveyor belt, I'm still on this main trail. And even though in this visualization you're walking alone, it still feels like, with it being correlated to the conventional path, you're looking around you and you're like, why do I feel so different? And why do I feel like I've accomplished so much and changed so much and grown so much, but I am still here with everyone else? It's like you wanted to pursue a creative path, but then you look around at your corporate job or at your regular day-to-day job and you're like, I feel like I am living all of these different lifetimes. I have gained so much in my life and created so much, but I still end up back here with everyone else. How is this possible? How is this happening? And what I'm seeing about this journey is that at a certain point you started to get used to it, and you started to feel like, well, this is just what I do. The satisfaction of knowing that you aren't quite like everyone else, and not in obviously a pick me annoying way, but just in recognizing what you have to offer, recognizing how you are different. And for a lot of you, especially as Black Sheep, this really used to be a wound for you, or an insecurity, right? It's like when we're young or in, middle school, high school, we don't want to be different. We just want to fit in. And I'm hearing that Jughead quote from Riverdale that they used in the preview, I don't fit in and I don't want to fit in, but it was kind of you were still in that place where you did want to fit in. And then eventually you started to embrace that you were just different. And so then you stopped comparing yourself to everyone around you because the satisfaction of who you were and how you operated through the world was enough for you. And so you stopped trying to look around to everyone else and compare and try to see how you're different, or wonder when you're going to get to this destination. Like, you still had the destination at the core of you, but you started to also enjoy the scenic route. You started to also enjoy the slowness. You started to also see the beauty in everything that was around you, in a sense that you stopped feeling like you had to run. It's almost like when you started this journey, and I'm seeing you at the beginning of the trail now, it's like you were afraid. You were looking all around you. You were, sprinting, and then you got exhausted, and then you would walk and you would sprint. And it was like this constant feeling of like someone's out to get you. There's like a fear here. It felt like you're very much escaping from something, right? And then at a certain point, you realize like you can walk in your own stride, and you're not feeling this need to escape anymore, but you're kind of in your own pace, and things still don't quite feel right, but you at least feel content. You at least have this like foundational place where you feel a baseline in your system. You feel a baseline of safety where you are. And then after that point is kind of where you are now, where, you start to actually see things moving forward, and you start to see things coming together, or even being better than what you thought. And because you're no longer so attached to the destination or where you're going, the things coming towards you feel more and more like a surprise, or it feels like it is aligned and it matches how you see yourself, and it feels true, but you're not waiting for it, right? Like, you're good where you are, so then when these things come in, you're like, oh my god, amazing, like, this is so great, this is beautiful, this is exciting. But it's not something that you are like, you feel the lack of it when it's not there. And so even through that pattern, you kind of broke this connection that you had to scarcity and to everything having to feel so tight. So I'm trying to connect a little deeper into where we are now, but this feeling of unworthiness is so, so significant. And I'm hearing that like you're like, I'm seeing like a chemistry setup where you're titrating something, and it's like the slow drip of something, right? Like, almost again this alchemical process of exactly how much of X do I need to put into Y to make it become Z, right? Like, oh my god, I'm having like chem lab flashbacks from college. But yeah, just that feeling of like slowly titrating your entire being and who you are. And so you're at that place where you're in the last few drops, where this change is coming towards you, and it has been coming towards you for so long, and you feel a DNA difference, you feel a difference in your makeup. And so you've been feeling this shift long before it comes, and it's almost like even if you were to meet your exact goals, it wouldn't feel like a complete shock or a complete surprise, in the sense that you've almost completely already calibrated to it, right? Like, you are this new person who is capable of holding in these new things. But there's a lot, and like, we're in the middle of a Mercury retrograde right now, so these resurfacing feelings are really strongly kind of coming up here. And I just saw 141 on the timer as well. But yeah, this feeling of unworthiness is a resurfacing along with everything else that's coming back up for us in this Mercury retrograde. And so what I'm hearing is to flow into this resistance, to flow into this memory of what the unworthiness felt like. And it feels so uncomfortable and so painful now. Oh my gosh, confirmation burp, because what I'm seeing now is I'm seeing the chemical in that titration setup where you're the thing on the bottom, and it's what you were before this other substance was dripping into it. Sorry, like, I don't know if this is gross. I'm just trying to explain this example, so hopefully you know what I mean. But basically with titration, there's, say there's like vinegar in front of you, and then you're like slowly dripping oil into it, but you're like measuring exactly. And like, these are bad examples because why would you mix vinegar and oil? Like, whatever. But the point is that you would take this other thing and slowly drip something into the vinegar or whatever it is on the bottom until the entire composition of the vinegar is different. And so now I'm reconnecting to not you being the new thing, but to you being the vinegar in the first place. And it's almost like you forgot that feeling, and it's coming back up for you now, almost so that you can recognize how different it really felt for you. In a sense, to close that chapter. And what's interesting is every cycle that you've gone through where you're feeling this unworthiness again, where this doubt is coming up, or this fear, or we all have those moments where we're being slingshot back, where we're being slingshot back to a certain time in our lives where we're settling, or where we were doing something that doesn't reflect who we want to be. And every time you go back and sit in this feeling again, it feels more and more foreign to you. It feels more and more different. And this is what's showing me that this process of alchemy, and it's just straight up change, like, right? Like, this full on process of change has been coming up in this way, for you to kind of realize like that it's completely different now. Before, it's almost like you still had a memory of that, right? It's like the idea of being a baby. Like, we may have certain kind of random childhood memories, or a memory from when we were pretty young as adults, but for the most part we don't exactly remember what it's like to be a baby, but we were once that thing. And as a kid, you can probably remember a little bit more what it felt like, or remember, just pieces of that experience. But as you get older, even though you started out that way, it's more and more difficult to reconnect to. It's more and more difficult to embody and to identify and to see yourself as that thing. And so it's almost like that's what's happening with this sense of unworthiness, and with this sense of pressure that you would put on yourself. You would have a better memory of it before, but now it's almost like, what even is this? Like, what is this foreign thing in my field? And so that's just a memory for you that you have broken these cycles, that you are ready to move on. What is your flavor of unworthiness? Which I've never heard that before. And it's just kind of silly the way that Spirit is saying it. But this is so true, and exactly what I talk about in my work, and even with self-worth coaching sessions. Like, yes, the end goal is to raise your self-worth, but it looks so different. And that's why it's hard for me to share what the exact result looks like, because it's not the same for everyone. Like, I've seen all of my clients change so much and grow and shatter these limitations that they have, but those limitations look different for everyone, and everyone copes through this feeling of unworthiness in different ways, right? Some people might overly people please and really want to bend over backwards for other people. They may really want to self-sacrifice and forego their own needs in order to be in that caretaker role. A lot of other people will really just isolate themselves because they don't trust anyone and they don't want to take care of anyone, but then they also don't let anyone take care of themselves. So in that sense, they just kind of cut themselves off from any sort of real connection. There's all of these different patterns and habits and ways that unworthiness manifests for us, right? Like, unworthiness isn't necessarily an action. Deep insecurity isn't necessarily an action. Those things are feelings, and those things are perspectives that we have of ourselves and of the world. And they manifest in certain ways based on our personalities, our upbringing, just who we are, our astrology. Like, all of those things can influence which ways they manifest. But it's coming from this place of unworthiness. That is the core. And that's why I always say unworthiness is the core, but it can come out and it can look so different. We all have different coping mechanisms and they can contradict one another, right? But it can still root from the same place. And so I'm hearing, what is your flavor of unworthiness? Maybe journaling a little bit on that, journaling on what is it that unworthiness looks like for you. Is it the feeling of settling? Is it not speaking up? Is it, isolating? Is it running away? Is it escaping? Is it starting over? So the more that you recognize how your unworthiness looks, the more that you can kind of dig deeper into those patterns and see if they're still coming up for you. See if there's anything residual there that you, and I don't know why my voice just shook like that. But seeing if there's anything residual to revisit, to see if there is something that you can let go of even further. And with that number earlier, I said that I saw the number 207, and I actually looked it up before channeling this message. And the entire number, and I recommend looking it up for you as well. You can kind of search it and set the intention with your guide, set the link that you click on, or, the meaning that you find for it in a book or wherever is the message that you need to hear right now. So even that could have a little bit of variation, but ultimately what I found is that it's about kind of the culmination of what it is that you're manifesting, the completion of these certain goals that you've worked on. But the reason that they are coming up for you, is because you're trusting your intuition, is because you're no longer afraid of walking through the unknown. You're no longer afraid of choosing the unseen. And for so many of you, you had to know where the next thing was that you're going to. So for example, even with that trail, I'm seeing like, you can see this one bush. And so you're just like walking and like bulldozing to get there. And maybe, you're hurt and you're tired and you need to rest, but you see it. And so you're not letting yourself like waver on the path. You're just going straight to it. And that determination was incredible, but you weren't taking care of yourself in the meantime. And then now that you got there, it didn't solve all of your problems. And so then you would see like, okay, well, maybe it's that tree, maybe it's that river. And so you would make these like promises and bargains with yourself and with your spirit team of where you were going, expecting that those things would solve your problems. And what you're learning is that you actually need to care for yourself along the way, and you need to care more about where you are now rather than having your eye on the prize, because no matter what those things were that you decided were the prize, they were false. They didn't solve all your problems. Again, the word false starts, right? So they taught you so much, and you ultimately learned every lesson that you needed to learn. But instead of just waiting for the destination, instead of just walking on the path at your own pace, you kept trying to force these certain things. And so those things that you had your eye on, that bush, that tree, that creek, those even represent the miniature goals that you had along the way of like, I just need to work here. I just need to earn this much. I just need to do this thing. And even if you have achieved those, it still didn't quite feel right, or things didn't feel complete, or it didn't feel like your work was done. And so now you're on a slower path, but it's getting you to exactly where you need to be. And ultimately, you're getting there in a way that actually feels kind and respectful to yourself. And that is truly priceless. And not everyone is lucky enough to experience that. So, 8 of Wands, the last card I was going to pull. And that just means that things really are coming in quickly. So as slow as they might feel, know that things are being put in place, and it's not the time to rush. It's not the time to just run and sprint the last few miles, because it could be quite a few more miles, but that doesn't mean that things aren't coming your way in that time, and that you aren't going to become the person that you want to be in that time as well. So refocus on the big picture, but so much is here for you. So much is here to support you. And don't forget to do that journaling piece on what your flavor of unworthiness is, so that you really can finally break that tie. The last thing is that I still have 50% off private one-on-one tarot readings and self-worth coaching sessions through December 10th. So use the code residency to book a one-on-one at half price. Remember that you're worthy whether you believe it or not. Love you.